My name is Santi. I'm 29, out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and this is Financial Audit.
So what do you do for a living in Albuquerque?
I have a mobile detailing business.
This is Santi, a mobile detailer business owner who's just on Caleb Hammer's financial podcast. You saw in the second clip of the beginning of this interview, they didn't quite explain what a mobile detailing business is, but he essentially drives to the customer's house and details their car, which entails mostly cleaning the inside, but probably the outside as well. And in this video, we're going to detail his struggling business, react to some important clips of this interview, and then at the end, we're going to break down how he can improve this business right away and what a good plan would be moving forward for him. Stick around at the end to see some of my recommendations.
Okay, so you're a business owner.
I launched my business in June of last year.
Okay, so a year, just over a year. How has it been?
Interesting.
Oh,
Yeah. Last year I was negative, I think like $3,000 or $4,000.
Okay, so his first full year in business, he lost $3,000 or $4,000. I'm not exactly sure how you do that with a detailing business. If you know you're losing money on each job, it seems like you should definitely be changing things up. Maybe he spent a bunch of money elsewhere on marketing, advertising, things like that is why he's in the negative, but they don't really break down his first year. Based on what we can go off of, we're basically just gonna have to dig into his second year, which it seems like he's about 9 months into his second year of this business. So let's get into that.
This year I'm up like 14,000.
that's not enough to live on.
No.
So almost 9 months in, he's made $13,000 or $14,000. We're just going to say he's made $14,000 in 9 months to make it easy. So let's dive into a spreadsheet here. So we have him making $14,000 so far in 9 months, and that's going to come out to making $1,555 per month on average so far in his second year. And if we break this down yearly, he's making $18,666 a year. So probably not enough to live on, but he also does say that his mortgage is only $1,200 per month, and he's also on food stamps for $280 a month, so his living expenses are really low. And we're not going to get too much into the other financials, but he also has massive debt, which you have to take into account when trying to run your business. But for this video, we're specifically just focusing on how he can run his business better.
How many hours a week do you work this job?
Probably like 80 hours a week.
Okay, now he says he works 80 hours per week on this job, which is definitely contradicting some of his statements later in the video, where it seems like he's working much less than 80 hours per week.
But that's not all detailing.
No.
So that's detailing,
How much of that is detailing?
let's say 6-7 hours. So let's say six
A
and a
day?
half. So it's 6. Yeah. So a day, 5 days a week.
Okay, so now he immediately says that he works 6 hours per day, 5 days per week. That's only 30 hours. And then he takes the 2 other days to work on some kind of other aspect of the business, which he gets into a little bit, which is social media and business coaching, actually.
2 of my days, one is coaching and
Coaching what?
business coaching. So like the whole morning is like content creation or working on the
Content
business.
creation.
And then also like
So
I try to do
Instagram
my
and stuff?
Mhm.
We'll link his in the description then.
Thank you.
Caleb definitely reacts to him doing content creation and also being a business coach, which is kind of funny because his business is pretty poorly run at the moment, at least. But if he is making extra money business coaching, I would definitely keep doing that. As far as content creation, right now, I don't think it's a good idea. You see people on YouTube and TikTok talking about mobile detailing and how much money they are making doing that. But my assumption with these videos is these people already had a successful detailing business before making these videos. So for me personally, I would focus on the business side first and then getting into content creation when you already have a successful business.
Do you have more business than you can take on?
Not at the moment. So
Okay, good. Where's your pricing in terms of the overall competitive industry, and the lowest to the highest? Where are you?
probably like high mid.
If you're detailing 6 hours a day and you're in the high mid, this doesn't sound like a business that's going to make it. Not to just be negative, but what did you say, $13,000 this year so far? We're
That's-
almost in Q4.
Okay, so obviously $14,000 in 9 months, not going to be enough to live on, even with his pretty affordable living style. But he will get into more in a second that he's making more money recently with this business, which is a good sign to see.
So like the business is done
Yeah,
over
yeah.
26.
Even $26,000 in 3 quarters,
Yeah.
basically. But that's 6 hours a day.
5 days a week.
Yeah, let's pretend it was just a normal 8-hour day. That's not going to make the gap to a livable income. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just trying to figure it out.
Okay, so another very important piece of information there. They've made $26,000 in revenue, so roughly 50% of that is profit, which is just not enough in a mobile detailing business, in my opinion. And there's definitely ways where he can increase that profit margin.
Business go to making you a living?
My current plan is to go harder on marketing and advertising.
Okay, so then he says he's going to go harder on marketing and advertising, which is just more expenses, which is not very good sign here either, that he's going to have to put more money into this and possibly cut down on that 50% margin even more.
So I did some quick math. So an average detail, I can expect about $350. And so I figured if I do that 5 days a week, I do two a day, 5 days a week, and I just assume just a 50-hour work, 50-week year, I think it's like 175. It would be an average of $700 a day, 5 days a week, 5 days a week, 2 jobs. That I can anticipate being anywhere from like 8 to 10 hours. At the moment, probably on average, like 1 a day, 5 days a week.
Okay, so his plan is to do 2 details a day or 10 a week and charge $350 for each detailing job. And he's going to work 50 weeks out of a 52 calendar year. So I did the math on that. It definitely checks out. It's $175,000 a year. But if he's only working at a 50% profit margin, that number is significantly cut. It's going to be a little under $90,000 a year, which would be still a great business. But the problem obviously is getting that many jobs where you can do 10 details every single week. And then at the end of this clip, he says that in the past 6 weeks, he's been doing 1 per day or 5 per week, because he only works 5 days per week, which would mean he could make $62,500 per year if that's the case.
No. 700 a day. How much in terms of dollar amount?
I can't think of the average right now off the top of my head, but probably like...
Okay, then we get a pretty confusing question from Caleb here. I don't think he knew what Santi said, and then Santi is just also confusing, so his response is pretty confusing to this answer as well.
250 to 300. For example, my last job I did was like 400. But that's also assuming some days that I don't have any jobs.
No, that's 65,000 hours a year, 5 days a week, $250 a day.
My assessment is based off of what I've been doing maybe over the past like 6 weeks.
Okay, so what Caleb said there right at the end is what I just said, but Caleb multiplied it by 52 instead of 50 because he said he's only going to work 50 weeks out of the year. But also what I think Santi said right before that is that on average, the profit is $250 per detailing job. That averages $350 per job. Okay, so coming back into the spreadsheet, you could see his revenue per job, what he says is going to be $350. He says his profit per job is $250, which can't be true since he's working at a 50% profit margin. So it's really $175 per job. If he does 5 a week, that's going to be $875 per week, or multiplying that times 50, you get $43,750 per year, which is actually pretty good for his living situation of only paying $1,200 for mortgage and owning his own home. But that's if he keeps up this rate of getting 5 jobs per week, which doesn't seem like he has been doing until very recently. And I think there's definitely more ways where he can even increase this number that we'll get into at the end of the interview clips. So stay tuned for that part.
Me assuming the numbers that you gave me is like me putting a bet on a single stock, penny stock. I don't know. I can't just assume that. Historically, again, you were negative last year and we're...
So Caleb is pretty confused on the numbers, doesn't know if they're accurate. I feel the same way. He's kind of bouncing all over the place. Doesn't seem like he really knows the numbers and kind of has flip-flopped a few times. It's been a little hard to keep it straight, but I think we have a pretty good idea going forward with our notes so far.
I mean, you've walked away with 13,000 this year so far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But given that I'm building a business and like really working on myself in this business, I foresee it like developing.
Again, you're going off a trend line, but your trend line is down right now. June, July, August is down. Like June was a peak. Great, which is awesome. It was March, April, May, June, July, August. So if we're going off the trend line, we're headed in the down direction.
Correct.
So this also is not a good sign when it seems like he was saying the past 6 weeks he's ramped things up, but Caleb just says looking at the numbers is actually going down. So again, we don't really know what to trust, but I'm going to go with Santi. Maybe Caleb's not looking at directly the last month. Maybe his numbers are about a month behind, since maybe he sent in the numbers like a month ago or something to the podcast for Caleb to prepare for this podcast.
I bought my house in 2019.
Well, you own a house.
Well, I got a mortgage on it, and that right now is about $1,200 a month. I think at the time it was like 12 something an hour.
Okay, so you're making $12 an hour, not a couple bucks.
Yeah, and so that helped cover especially the early part of the year.
So then Santi says that he made about $12.50 an hour working at another job, which will definitely come back into play here at the end.
Because I had like only 3 jobs between December and January, and then I got robbed.
3 detailing jobs?
Another very important part of this clip is he said in the beginning of the year he only had 3 detailing jobs in 2 months, which is definitely not good, and it's definitely not 5 per week or 20 per month or 40. So he has to go from 2 detailing jobs in that time period to 40, which is a massive jump, obviously, just to get to that number of 43,000 from our notes.
This is homework that I do know.
Last I checked, I think on like Rocket Money, it throws out like expected values. I think I saw like 230. So this is the business account. So these are
even
meals
still,
and for
even
the
still,
team.
pack some lunch.
So now we're going to get into his business account and the spending. Something he spends a lot on is food, which is something with this financial podcast that Caleb absolutely hates and tells people not to spend that on. But if it is a business expense, you honestly pay less taxes because you're profiting less if you're expensing stuff like that. But on the other hand, I'm not much into finance, more the business side of things. But it is possible to spend way less on food. You know, if you get an apple and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, that's probably $2 on lunch instead of 10 to going out to eat something.
Yeah.
Team.
I have a couple guys help me every once in a while.
Okay, then he says he has a team, and he says 2 guys help him every once in a while. He later said, I don't know if we have the clip here, that he only has them come on the weekends for a few hours. So that'll also come back into play here at the end when we go over some ways to make this business more profitable.
MailChimp for my email marketing, that's like $20
Which
a
is
month.
totally fine. I didn't even highlight because that completely makes sense. But does Jimmy's Cafe, does Whataburger, does Taquitos, does... I don't know what Twisters is, but does it?
Burritos.
Jobber also didn't know what that was. Is that you posting jobs?
No, it's my CRM. Entire customer journey is facilitated through there.
And
It
you should have a CRM. I don't know if you... I know there's cheaper CRMs you can have for a business that doesn't make money, though.
Okay, that's the last clip, but I would say on the CRM, he doesn't need to be spending $370 on a CRM or have one at all, and you don't need to spend $20 on MailChimp either for a business this small. Even if he is doing 5 of these detailing jobs a week, I don't think a CRM is going to be 100% necessary. All right, so that was all the clips I pulled out of this interview. Now we're going to break down what I think he could do to better this business, a possible plan moving forward in the next 6 months for Santi. So we saw after 9 months, he's making a little under $19,000 yearly. Based on his last 6 weeks, he would come out to be making almost $44,000, which would be enough to live on due to his low cost of living, but he could be making more very easily. So the first thing is, I think he is not telling the truth about working 80 hours per week. It sounds more like 30 hours per week, maybe 40 if you count his social media and business consulting that he does on his off days, but definitely not 80. So he has a lot of time to spend on other things. But right off the bat, I would cut out the social media and now say you're working 31 hours per week because he had a 1-hour business coaching session per week. So now that he has more time to work on the detailing business, cut out the 2 other employees. Doesn't sound like they're working that much, but say he was paying them each $1,000 per year total for working a couple hours on the weekend. So now we have our new total down here of $43,750. Right off the bat, we're going to add $4,000 back into the profit of this business, and he's almost at 50 right there just for cutting out some extra work that he's doing that's not bringing in any more money and cutting out those 2 employees so he can actually use that time to be working on his business. All right, next we're going to cut out the CRM and the $20 MailChimp. I think right now for this business, if you want to see if it can succeed, you don't need to have a CRM right now. Maybe down the line, you could think about paying for a CRM, but right now it's cutting way too much into your profits based on how much you're making per month. And then also cut the MailChimp of $20 per month. It's not a ton, but it adds up over the year. And also, I have a MailChimp account where I have one email list that you can host for free. It has almost 1,000 subscribers on there, so I can do everything for free on MailChimp. Don't have to pay $20. So we're going to take out 390 times 12 months of the year. Now his business is already up to $52,000 in profit for the year. Then the next thing that Caleb really hammers, because it is a finance podcast about managing your finances, you got to cut out some of the extra spending on food and things like that. So let's just say he's spending $150 extra on food when he could be, making his own food for way cheaper. Now your business is up to $54,000. Now I don't know a ton about car detailing or anything at all, but it seems like from some of these screenshots in the interview that he's spending a ton on supplies. Maybe try to cut down on some supplies, use different products, or buy them in bulk to help mitigate the cost of supplies. And I think you could shave easily $100 of supplies off every single month. Cutting that out, he's up to $55,000 per year, and I think that is a good starting point. If we add up all these savings with this new business model, he could cut out almost $12,000 in expenses here. And remember, his yearly earnings is only just under $19,000, so he's almost doubling already his yearly earnings if he's still bringing in this low monthly average. If he had just been running his business with cutting these things out from the beginning, his yearly take home would be way higher already. So aside from cutting out these costs, my plan for Santi in this business would be trying to cut out these costs, keep trying this new business model that's been working for him the last 6 weeks, where he's averaged 5 customers per week. If he can keep that up through January, I think that's a great sign, and you can keep moving forward with this business. If not, if he has another really slow December and January, like he said,
because I had like only 3 jobs between December and January, and then I got robbed.
3 detailing jobs?
Just less than a year ago, when he had 2 detailing jobs over those 2 months, I think it's time to cut ties with this as your main business. You could still stick to it as a side hustle, and that's what we're going to get into in this next portion. He said he had a job working $12.50 an hour. He could still work that job full time, 40 hours per week, and then work on this mobile detailing business for 30 hours per week, or even less. He said he works 6 hours per day on this business, but it only has detailed 1 car per day. So that's averaging 1 detail per 6 hours. But then he said he thinks he can work 8 to 10 hours and detail 2 cars. So some mixed statements there from him. But if we're going off of detailing 2 cars every 8 to 10 hours, I think he can work 20 to 25 hours per week detailing cars. And then he's not even at his 80 hours per week, which he claimed he was working before. So in the end, cut out the social media work, at least right now, until your business is successful. That's going to open up a lot more time for you. Focus on cutting these things out of your business that are unnecessary expenses. The third step would be move forward with this new business model. See if you're actually successful. It can get 5 jobs per week. If you can't, add in that full-time job of $12.50 per hour, working 40 hours per week, and then you could be working less than 80 hours per week, which you claimed, by still doing your mobile detailing business 20 to 25 hours per week, doing 1 per day for 5 days a week. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed this one. I hope Santi all the best. Again, I'm trying to find his social medias and link them down below, because Caleb Hammer said they would link his socials down below, but I didn't see that anywhere or in the comments. So I'll try to find that, link that down below for him. Support him on social media. Maybe it'll blow up from him being on YouTube and he can actually make money with that. But all in all, I think he could do a lot of these steps to help run this business better and see if it is successful. If it's not, you got to move on, take another job, and just do mobile detailing as a side hustle. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel. Check out the other videos on the channel. We have a ton about side hustles I've personally done, and also more reaction videos to videos kind of like this. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Click to subscribe and have a good one.